Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this is a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Hello my brother, how are you? Can you please post for me? I am a woman who is aged 40 years old. I grew up in a very poor family. So my mom, she had 5 kids, but she had all of her kids with 5 different fathers. And when she would start dating another man, because my mom, she stayed with a lot of men, some of them she never had children with them. What my mom will do is that each and every time that she will be dating a new man that would have entered into her life, she would then lie to that man that she didn't have a child. But when it came to my father's case, since I was the youngest, she then lied to my dad that she only had one child, who was my elder sister. So growing up, I never had that opportunity to bond with all of my step sisters, because as for my mom, she never had boys. She only gave birth to girls only. When my eldest sister was now staying with us, and the reason as to why she was staying with us, it was because my mom, she didn't want my father to find out that she had other kids. So all of my elder stepsisters, they were staying at our grandmother's house. And after that, my mom, she stated that she didn't want me to go and visit my grandma, because I had once visited my grandma. And when I returned back from that holiday, I then started telling my father a lot of stories. So she then found out that the more that I was going to my grandma, the more that I was bonding with my stepsisters. And this is not what my mom wanted. She just wanted my father to never find out that she had other kids. So the other kids that my father thought were my mother's younger sisters, in fact, they were her own children. So my mom was afraid that my dad was going to find out about the other kids. When my sister was 12 years old, that one that I was staying with, the one that my mom had lied to my dad that she was the only child that she ever had before me, she then started dating a blesser, and I was the first one that she told about this blesser of hers. I then told my mom, since I was really young at that time, after I had told my mom that she was dating this older man, my mom was really angry. But when I told her that this blesser of hers was regularly giving her a lot of money, she then told my sister that she had to make sure that this guy of hers was going to give her more money. So each and every time that my elder sister would bring back money or takeaways, my mom would say, "You see, my child, you are very clever." But the day that my mom found out that she had been impregnated by that blesser, and after my mom had said that, "I want you to have an abortion because you can't give birth, you are still very young, you might die in childbirth," after my sister had refused because she was afraid of doing that abortion, but she didn't tell my mom that she didn't want to have an abortion, my mom went out and she bought some illegal abortion pills for my sister. But my sister, she took those illegal abortion pills and she then flushed them in the toilet. But since I was really young, I never understood the consequences of me reporting her to our mom, because after she had flushed all of those pills in the toilet, I then went and I reported all of her actions to my mom. After that, my mom was really angry. She went and she then confronted her, and then my mom told her that she was supposed to leave the house if she didn't want to have an abortion. My mom then kicked my stepsister out of the house, and then my stepsister, she went and she started staying with her blesser as the second wife. So since this blesser was a married man already, my sister struggled a lot because the family of the blesser saw that she was very young and it was quite risky for her husband. Otherwise, if they stayed together any longer, they were going to have their relative arrested. So what they did is that when my dad was not at home, since my dad was always working because he was in the army, so you would be staying at the barrack. Most of the times it will be my mom and me at our house. So most of the things that my mom will do, my dad will never find out. When those people came, the relatives of that blesser who had impregnated my sister, they came and they bribed my mom. She was given a lot of money because for many days my mom would go shopping with all of that money that she had been given by that blesser's relative, the one that had impregnated her daughter, and she never told any of her relatives. After that, my sister then pretended as if she had a miscarriage. This is when she had been returned back home and our mom, after she had accepted her back. Then my sister one night, she told me that she was feeling very guilty because she never had a miscarriage, but in fact it was a lie. And she told me the truth that had happened. She said that when she had money, this was after our mom had given her a lot of money, and I know that my mom, by her giving her the money, she knew that she was going to do this. My mom gave her a lot of money. She then went to town as if she wanted to do some shoppings. She ended up going to those illegal abortion clinics, and she then told me to never tell anyone that secret. All that she said was that she was even afraid of telling me everything that happened whilst she was in that illegal abortion clinic. She said that the way that they removed the baby from inside of her womb was really scary because they were pulling the baby with some sharp tools. So when my sister, after she had that illegal abortion, she became a very good girl and she started concentrating in school. She passed high school, and when she was in university, she then started dating the man who was the son's mayor of our town at that time. One day when that guy came to check up on my sister, so my sister, she was not at home, and I lied to him that my sister had gone out with a boyfriend, and that is how I destroyed her relationship with that mayor's son, because I was really jealousy of her. I didn't want her to date such a rich guy. Actually, the guy even thanked me for saving his life because he was already committed to my sister. He even said that he was going to marry a prostitute. So he just dumped my sister peacefully, and at the age of 25, my sister found new love, and that is the man whom I ended up marrying because of the illegal abortion that had been done to my sister, the one that she had told me about. For 7 months, my sister had told me that she had been seeing strange discharge at that time when she had gone to do that abortion. She said that for 7 months she was always bleeding, regularly bleeding. For a month, she would be going on her periods for like 2 or 3 times. Each and every time that she would be on her periods, she would be seeing strange discharge that was mixed with her bodily fluids and tissues, and some watery fluid that was mixed with blood. So at that time, since she was still very young, because she was somewhere around 13 years old, so she thought that maybe it didn't even matter. She just thought that maybe this was a way of she thought that maybe this thing, it was normal that was happening to her. But after she had gotten married at the age of 25, when she could fully understand what had happened, I still remember looking at her on her wedding day when she was crying. Other people thought that maybe she was crying because she was really excited on her wedding day, but I knew exactly what was happening to her. My sister was not crying because of happiness, but she was crying because she knew that previously she had tried to have a child, and she had told me that she had failed to have a kid with other men that she had fallen in love with before she had met the man whom she eventually got married to, who later became my husband. So after my sister had gotten married, and for 3 years she could not conceive, when she was 28, that was when I started staying with my stepsister, because on the part of town where she was staying with her husband, it was really close to the college that I was going to. I was young and I was really beautiful and attractive. I saw that my stepsister's husband was growing old and he didn't have a child, and I thought that maybe this was an innocent thing that I wanted to do, but I didn't know what kind of damage it was going to cause. I didn't know that it would cause the death of my mother and the death of my sister as well as her unborn baby. Whenever my sister was not at home, I would ask my brother-in-law to help me lift the laundry basket, claiming that it was too heavy. And whenever he would come to help me pick up that laundry basket, and what I would do is that I would reveal parts of my body so as to turn him on. And this ended up working, because one day when he was really stressed, he came into my room and he slept with me and he said, please do not tell your sister, because I am really stressed out about us not having a child. I don't know how it was possible, but me and my sister's husband, we only slept only once, and I immediately fell pregnant for my sister's husband. When I told him, he said that since I was pregnant and this was going to become his first child, he wanted to get a divorce from my sister so that he can marry me. But I was really scared. That same night, I ran away after I had found out that my sister's husband had impregnated me. I ran away to my mom and I told my mom everything that had happened. So after I had told my mom everything that had happened, to my surprise, my mom said that do not even inform your father. I'll see what I can do about it. We had to keep it as a secret. She even called my brother-in-law and told my brother-in-law that he was supposed to come quickly before my father had returned back from work, because at that time he was always at the barrack. So my sister's husband then came. It was in the afternoon. That was when my mom told me that if he was going to give her the bride price, I was going to become his second wife, and we had to leave everything to her. She was going to have it sorted out. So my mom, she was the only one who was present when my husband was paying for my bride price. In fact, my mom, she was the only one who ate my lobola money. She did all of those lobola negotiations that we do as Africans alone. It was only me, my husband to be, and my mom, and we kept it as a secret. She even kept it as a secret from my dad. My father passed away without ever knowing that the lobola negotiations, they were done, and it was my mother who did all of those lobola negotiations. My brother-in-law, what he would do is that whenever my dad was not at home, my brother-in-law, who was now my unofficial husband, he would come, and my mom would actually give us a room. Sometimes he would pretend to my stepsister that she had gone to work, and I would have him locked up in my room, sometimes for a week, without him ever going out. And I gave birth to my twin kids. Then after a year, I fell pregnant again for that same man who is now my husband, who used to be my stepsister's husband. After I had given birth to my 3 kids, that was when my heart was broken, because one day my husband, who was still my sister's husband, told me that my stepsister had fallen pregnant for him, and I didn't want my stepsister to have a child because already I had 3 kids with her husband. I consulted my brother. This was like the first time that I had ever visited a traditional healer, but these were desperate times, and I needed to make a These were like desperate times, so I needed to make a plan. I consulted, and honestly, with evil intentions, when I went there, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted someone that was powerful, that was going to assist me to have my sister's pregnancy to be destroyed. I didn't want her to give birth. After I had consulted, that was when my brother-in-law gave me more money, because he wanted me to buy some property at the house where I was renting. I then took that money and I went with that money to that traditional healer, because I wanted my brother-in-law to focus only on me. Since I had given him 3 kids already, I didn't want him to focus on my barren sister. And my husband never suspected that I was using a lot of charms on him, even though my stepsister, each and every time that I'll be speaking with her, she will tell me and she will say that I suspect that your brother-in-law is cheating on me, but I think that he has been covering his tracks, but I suspect and I feel that he has other kids, even though he denies it each and every time when I ask him if he has other kids with another woman. Each and every time that my sister will tell me that he was suspecting that a husband was having another affair, I'll just say in my heart, so what do you want him to do? You want to die? You want him to die without having a child. But my brother, even though my sister was very suspicious that a husband had a second family, she died without ever knowing that I was the one who was dating her husband behind her back, who ended up having kids with her husband behind her back. And our mom, she knew about this relationship. When I consulted, I was given some ashes. I was told that the traditional healer's dog had died. After this dog had died, the traditional healer, late in the night, he had taken his beloved dog and he had placed it by the side of the road, and he had specifically placed that dead dog of his by the side of the road because what he wanted that dog to do was that when people would be passing by that place where he had dumped the body of his dog, when people will be saying that this place is really smelly, the dog that was dumped there, it is really smelly. He was doing some rituals, and by the time that he saw that indeed the dog was now rotting, he then took it back to his place and he burned it. And after he had burned it, he took all of those ashes, and those were some of the ashes that he had given me. He told me that these ashes, he had given them to some prostitutes who had their clients that were really wealthy, but their clients were already married and they had their wives. So they would be using these ashes so that the man, by the time that he would return back to his wife, he would see his wife as if she was something that was really smelly, just like what people were doing when they were passing through that area where he had dumped the dead dog, that people will quickly walk away. This is what he was using for those prostitutes that wanted to enter into marriage with some of their very wealthy clients. He then told me that these charms that he was about to give me, after I had given them to my stepsister, she was going to suffer. No man in this world would ever be able to love my sister again, because she would be something that would be like the rotting corpse of a dead dog. No one would ever want to get close to her. This was like heaven on earth for me. So he told me that all that I had to do, I was supposed to cook some food for my stepsister, and when I'll be cooking some food for my stepsister, it was such that she would lose the pregnancy, and after losing that pregnancy, then she and her husband will never be in good books at all. So one Friday afternoon, I then went to visit my sister at her house, and I told her that I wanted to sleep over for the rest of the weekend, just seeing her. And when I arrived there, I then told her that she was supposed to rest whilst I was preparing for her favorite meal. And when I was done cooking, after I had dished out in the kitchen because she was in the living room, I selected her plate of food and I opened that small container that I had in my pockets, and I poured a handful of the ashes that were mixed with the herbs that I was given by that traditional healer. I then took the food and I set it on the dinner table. I invited her as well as her husband. Then we started eating like we were a one big happy family. Even my kids, they were there. It was only my stepsister who didn't know that the kids that I had, they were the kids that my husband had given me. So whilst she was eating, she kept on laughing and saying that the pregnancy hormones has made food to taste so funny for her. We laughed, we ate, and we just relaxed. We then went to bed. After a couple of weeks, on her next appointment, she was told that the pregnancy that she was carrying, it was an abnormal pregnancy, because the baby, instead of it growing in the womb, it was growing in the tubes. When she was told this news, the doctor said that she looked very devastated, and the doctor had told her that the next time around when she would come back for the consultation, she was supposed to return back with her husband, but she never did. So the doctor thought that maybe she was now consulting with another doctor. So my sister, what had happened to her when she was told that the baby that was growing inside her body was an abnormal pregnancy that was growing inside her tube instead of growing inside her womb, and she never went back for the checkup because she thought that maybe God was going to make it possible for her to have a full-term pregnancy and she would be able to have a baby. Each and every time when she would go out, she would lie to her husband that she is going to the doctor, but she would never reach the doctor's office. She would just spend the day sitting somewhere in town, and she would come back lying that the pregnancy was fine, everything was fine. As the pregnancy grew, she was always sick, because I remember in so many nights my brother-in-law / my husband in secret would call me asking me for advice, since I had been pregnant before. So he thought that maybe I was more experienced. But some of the symptoms that he would be telling me all over the phone, I had never experienced them, because my sister, she was always feeling like she was about to faint, loss of breath, and sometimes she would actually cough out some blood. And with the way that she was sick, yet she refused to be taken to the hospital, until one day when she called our mom. This was in the afternoon. When she called our mom in the afternoon, she was really sick, and she thought that God was about to change her situation. But she said, "Mama, I thought that all this time that I have been carrying this pregnancy that is abnormal, God was going to perform a miracle, but now I am asking for your help. I think that I am about to lose my life. Please, Mama, come and save me. I think if you do not come and save me, I am going to die." That was when she stopped responding. My mom quickly called the ambulance, and by the time that my mom got there, the ambulance people were already there. By the time that I also went there, my brother, when I entered into her bedroom, because the ambulance guys, they were still waiting for that other police car, the pathology, they were still waiting for the pathology services to come, since they found her already dead, so they could not take her. When I got inside her bedroom, her bedroom was really traumatizing, because there was blood everywhere. I had never seen such a huge amount of blood in my life, and this affected my mother, since she knew the story, and she didn't know the story of me going to the healer. She just kept on blaming herself. After the death of my sister, I stayed for a little while whilst I was dating my sister's husband in secret, until we moved in together, and we made it to look like I was there to comfort my brother-in-law, but I had already been dating him ever since I had moved in to stay with him and my stepsister. After I had moved in with my current husband, with the knowledge of all of our relatives, that was when my mom, this was 2 years later, she was really depressed, and she was going through a very dark period in her life. And one night she ended her life. She drank a lot of tablets. These tablets that she drank, they were mixed with her antidepressants, as well as the painkillers, and a lot of her sleeping tablets. And when my dad woke up in the middle of the night, he then saw that my mom was no longer responding, and my mom seemed to not be breathing. That was when my dad tried waking up my mom, and my dad saw that my mom was no longer responding and called everyone. Right now, I am still living with my husband in the same house that my sister died whilst he was living in, but I just renovated the house just to make it feel a little bit better.